The Boxing Day tsunami of 2004 hit 14 countries around the Indian Ocean. It was caused by the third largest earthquake in history and killed 280,000 people, wrecking the lives of millions more and causing tens of billions of dollars in damage. It is officially recorded as a natural disaster, but conspiracy theorists believe it was really a man-made disaster, created by America's second biggest submarine, the USS Jimmy Carter. The USS Jimmy Carter is the third and final Seawolf-class nuclear fast attack submarine in the US naval inventory. It can travel at a speed of 40 knots at exceptional depth and is the quietest nuclear submarine. It was specially modified for clandestine surveillance, perfect for espionage and sabotage operations. Boasting the Seawolf-class's remarkable array of weapons, it can easily defend itself in foreign waters. But unlike its two predecessors, it has a 30-meter extension to its hull, allowing extra room to act as an operational test ship for cutting-edge technology. Conspiracy theorists believe that technology includes the ultimate stealth weapon, a seismic device that can create huge natural disasters. Trowbridge H. Ford and Jim W. Dean believe the USS Jimmy Carter used this weapon to cause the Indian Ocean tsunami. The disaster was unprecedented in its scale, and Ford and Dean note there were unusually no warning signs of massive collapses in the Sumatran Trench, where the quake began. Given that countries affected by the tsunami were mostly Muslim, Ford and Dean argue that the attack was targeted as part of the Bush administration's war on terror. Specifically, they accuse Secretary of Defense Paul Wolfowitz and Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Vern Clark of planning the attack. According to Trowbridge Ford, the attack was part of Wolfowitz's long-term goal to build a one-world government in which America would be the dominant partner. Firstly, the disaster itself would devastate Muslim populations and countries where America's enemies were most prevalent. Secondly, those countries became reliant on the $14 billion of aid provided by the West, led by America. This would give the US the opportunity to establish more overseas bases in foreign countries, similar to Diego Garcia. The British government forcibly removed the local population so that the US military base could be constructed. Along with Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, it is America's most strategic asset in the Asia-Pacific region. The process of globalization is driven by trade, so whoever controls that could control the eventual one-world government. Skeptics point out that the USS Jimmy Carter was commissioned in February 2005, 2 months after the tsunami. It returned to Connecticut from its operations testing on November 19, 2004. In other words, it was not in the Indian Ocean to trigger the tsunami. However, Ford and Dean believe the submarine seen docking in November 2004 was not the Jimmy Carter. It was the USS Toledo. They say the submarine in the official photographs is notably smaller than the real USS Jimmy Carter. Furthermore, they argue that it is significant the submarine was showing the broom when it returned from operations. This is a symbolic gesture made in wartime when submarines had made a clean sweep of enemy vessels on their mission. If the Jimmy Carter was only out for sea testing, why was it showing the broom? Wolfowitz and Clark both left their government roles in summer 2005. Admiral Clark's term in office had been extended around the same time that the DoD agreed to give the builders of the Jimmy Carter another year and a half to make changes. Is this all coincidence? Or did Wolfowitz and Clark stay in office just long enough to oversee the Jimmy Carter's first devastating mission, carried out before it was even officially commissioned and when America's enemies believed it was at birth in the USA? 6 years later, theorists believe the USS Jimmy Carter also used its superweapon to cause the Great Tohoku earthquake. The largest in Japan's history, it caused over 24,000 casualties. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center revealed that in the days before it struck, satellites detected a big increase in infrared emissions from the epicenter. Also, the electron content of the ionosphere above the epicenter increased dramatically, reaching its peak 3 days before the quake. This, according to the theory, is tangible proof of the mysterious device aboard the Jimmy Carter. Of course, there are problems with this theory. For one thing, scientists are confident that both the Boxing Day tsunami and the Tohoku quake are natural disasters. In fact, the infrared and electron spikes in the days before the latter are seen as positive proof for the lithosphere-atmosphere-ionosphere coupling mechanism. This refers to the scientific theory that the great stresses in a fault before a quake release large amounts of radon gas. Radioactivity from the gas ionizes the air, which explains the electron spike. Ions attract water molecules, thus triggering large-scale condensation of water vapor. The process of condensation releases heat, which explains the infrared spike detected by the satellites. Meanwhile, the extra 30 meters in the Jimmy Carter's hull were designed for the deployment of remote-operated vehicles and an advanced SEAL delivery system for Special Operations Forces. The USS Jimmy Carter has primarily been used for secret surveillance throughout its service. That being said, precisely because of its top-secret operations, very little is known about the submarine's true capabilities or what it actually does. It has now been operating for 13 years, but next to none of its missions are known to the public.